this evening is a man who literally lives life in the fast lane, David Goodhand. David, thanks for coming in.
Okay.
You didn't come on your push bike then?
No, I came by my car.
Yeah. But welcome back. It gives me great pleasure to say welcome to my TV to Edwin Starr. Edwin, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're playing a gig tonight in Jongleurs, aren't you?
That's right.
Are you based in the UK now?
I've been here for 17 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you originally born?
I was originally born in Nashville, Tennessee. I migrated from Nashville to Cleveland, Ohio, eventually winding up in Detroit when I was with Motown. And then Motown made the move to California, and I moved. They only took a handful of artists, and I was one of the ones that they took with them to California. And then eventually I moved on from there to 20th Century Fox.
When you're born in Nashville, is it like you're going to have to be in the music business?
Yeah,
You've got music
I
in
guess
your
so.
blood?
It's inherited. You know, you gotta do one or the other. You're gonna either do gospel music, or country and western, or soul.
In about 30 years' time, some of the boy bands, the girl bands that are around today, the A1s, the 911s, all those little boy bands, when you listen to Gold Radio, they're not going to be playing their songs.
I doubt
but your songs go on forever.
Yeah, well, you know, that was the legacy of the time and the music. You know, you had absolute fantastic writers and producers, and I think what was happening is that the quality control, which was the responsible party for why the records came out in the first place, I think that they were a lot more concerned with what they allowed the public to hear and to purchase and to bring into their homes than now. Now it's a bit more lax. It's a bit looser, you know, and people buy whatever and play whatever, you know, which is not always a very, very good thing, especially because of the language on some of the records.
Yeah, some of the modern rap and stuff.
Yeah.
Why do you think, you look back at the 60s, one of the things that stands out is the Motown, the soul thing that was going on. Why do you think that was so big, particularly in the 60s?
Because of the fact that that was the generation of love. That was people who fell in love with each other. They met, you know, they created relationships that even today still are lasting. The whole Northern soul scene came out of that era as well, and that scene is very, very much alive and well even today.
Northern soul in this country, you didn't have such a Northern soul thing in the States. No, didn't have
it there. Only recently, within the last 10, 15 years, has America even thought about the old material, and they've got what they call beach music, where in North Carolina and South Carolina, some of the beach areas, they play mostly the older songs, you know, like The Times, Hey Girl Don't Bother Me, and you know, all of those things, you know. But as far as Motown is concerned, they've never really ever cultivated it the way that it's been cultivated here in England.
You say the 60s was a time of love, and maybe the early 70s as well. There wasn't so much love going on when Berry Gordy bought out your first record label, was there? It was 2.5 years of wrangling to get you...
Well, yeah, it was because of the fact that he bought me with the intentions of mine. I wrote a song that has been and still is one of his favorite songs, which is Oh How Happy, and he wanted the rights to that song. I never understood or knew the reasoning why at the time, but I eventually did find out what the story was. The Jackson 5 were just getting ready to do a cartoon series. The cartoon series was going to be worldwide distributed. He wanted to use Oh How Happy as the theme song for their cartoon series. Well, they called me into the office and offered me a silly amount of money to sell them the rights to the song. And of course I walked out, and
as you do.
As you do, you know. And that was one of the reasons why it took me 2.5 years in order for me to have any kind of...
You hang in there.
Yeah.
Just seeing you sitting here now, it's hard to believe that you mix with like the greats. I mean, you must have met Diana Ross.
Everybody.
Did you meet Michael Jackson?
Everybody. I just did a show with him. I was in New York just recently with him on that show that he did there. I did the after party. They actually flew me in to, they invited 200 special guests to the party after the concert that he did, and I was the entertainment for those 200 guests.
It's amazing to think that you're entertaining people like this.
Yeah. Well, you know, you have to remember my association with Michael goes back until the days, he was like 6 years old, 7 years old when I first met him at the Apollo Theater. Him and his brothers, they were doing amateur shows every Wednesday night, and this is way before they actually became the Jackson 5.
People have seen him change, obviously, outwardly over the past 30 years. You've known him since, like you say, since he was 6 years old. Has he changed much as a person?
He is what he has always been, a big kid. He's never ever been allowed to be an adult. If you remember and you look back on the span of his career, he started out when he was young. He still is young. He never ever had a childhood. He didn't get the privilege of playing in a play yard or swinging on the swing or going camping or doing any of the things that you and I probably got a chance to do when we were young. So he's always been thrown into an adult world. And that's the reason why, henceforth, the fact that he always has found himself in the company of kids, because that's the only people that he knows how to relate to.
Yeah, it must be a shame to have your childhood taken away like that, but then look what he's got in return for it.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes when you weigh and measure all of those things, I mean, yeah, he's a very wealthy young boy, but he's also a very lonely young boy.
Wealthy in money, but maybe not spiritually.
No,
We want to talk about you, but before we move on and get back to you, did you know Marvin Gaye?
Yes. He was every show that Marvin did over here in England or either in Europe, I was just a supporting act.
Really? I must have seen you then when you were at Southampton years ago.
Yeah.
I love Marvin Gaye.
He was super.
The stuff that he wrote about, it was peace and it was love, and it was just great.
Yeah.
But after he died, there were so many stories going about what a nasty, mean man he was.
Don't believe any of it. Don't believe any of it. He never had one real mean streak in him, because it's very, very difficult to be a mean individual and be an introvert. And that's what he was. He was an introvert. He spent a great deal of his time by himself. We used to be on tour, and he'd be in his room for hours and hours. He was very, very into alternative medicines and herbs and things like that, you know, and meditation.
Yeah.
He was very much into that. If he was a victim of anything, he was a victim of the most things that most males are victim of, and that is he never found true love.
Really?
He never had anyone who loved him.
And yet he could have any woman he wanted.
Yeah, he could have any woman he wanted, but consequently, every woman that he had betrayed him.
Really? Sad.
Yeah.
But let's talk about you, because I think a real sign of success and of talent is longevity. And your career's been, what, 35, 36 years?
44.
44? I know your first hit was, what, 65, was it?
Yeah, but I started singing in 1955.
Really?
With my first group, the group called the Future Tones. We were the #1 group in Ohio and Cleveland until I went into the Army in 1962. But that was all in part and parcel of my learning time. You know, I'm so pleased that I had that time, because it gave me the footage and it gave me the understanding. It made me realize that, you know, it's not always about success. It's about being able to to do what you do and enjoy it.
I know I want to concentrate on you, but you keep saying things. There's so much we could talk about, but you keep saying things that lead me off on a tangent. You say you joined the Army in 62?
Yeah.
Was that about the time that Muhammad Ali joined?
Yeah, 1960 and 1960. I was in 1960, got out in 1962. I went over to Germany, because I came to Germany when I was in the Army. I went over on the same ship that Elvis Presley came back on.
Really?
And I came back on the same ship that Lloyd Price went over on.
Yeah.
Because during that time, you could only come over by ship. Oh, well, not only, you know, but you know.
Yeah, that was the way it was done.
Yeah, that was the way,
yeah.
you know.
I just wondered if you went through the same crisis of conscience that Muhammad Ali went through. He just said he's a black American and he's not going to go and fight the Vietnamese.
I never had those crises of conscience. My father was a career soldier, okay? He was a sergeant major and retired after 22 years. I went into the Army on a very, very, very slick type of way. There is two ways of going in the Army in the United States. One is to be drafted, and the other is to volunteer for the draft. I volunteered for the draft, which meant that I was only allowed or only privileged to stay in the Army for 2 years. I didn't have to stay the 3 years mandatory. I stayed 2 years. But while I was there in the Army, President Kennedy did a mandatory extension on everybody. So I wound up
You ended up doing the time anyway.
So I wound up doing it anyway.
So if you come from a family that you had a father who was a career soldier, you served yourself, you volunteered. Where did, probably your biggest hit, where did war come from?
Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong wrote the song, okay? And the misunderstanding about the song War is that the song was never ever supposed to be about the Vietnam War. What they were simply writing about was about the conflicts that people were facing on a day-to-day basis in the United States at the same time, with all of the riots and things. But about 4,000 or 5,000 college students wrote into the company and they said, you got to release this record. This record has got to be released because it's pertinent to what's going on today. So Motown at that particular time said, well, we can't put it out on the Temptations because it's political dynamite. You know, if it goes the wrong way, their career is gone.
But they weren't worried about you?
No, but they weren't worried about it.
That's not very nice.
Well, you know, I mean, it was a situation where they literally did ask me if I want to do it, and I said, of course I want to do it. You know, long as I can do the vocal performance the way I want to do it. You know, because if you do a song like that, you can't mollycoddle it. You gotta do it. You know. And I said, I'll do it, but I've got to do it with the conviction that I feel. So they allowed me to do it. The record, they never ever did anything with the record as far as the promotions are concerned. The record was already gold before they did the first promotions on it. But that was the funniest thing about it was not that. The record went double platinum, right? And the way they gave me my platinum record is that one day I was walking through the company, walking down the hallways, and one of the secretaries said, hey, Edwin, I got a record for you over here in the corner if you want it. You know, you can come and pick it up when you get a chance. I mean,
double platinum. Here you go.
Yeah, there you go.
But that was huge. I'm just thinking about the whole diversity of your career, because that was, what, 1970?
1970, yeah.
But then you went on, and I remember getting very, very hot and sweaty in discos in the late 70s, the stuff like Contact.
Yes.
Which was absolutely brilliant. But that's so diverse from when you started in 55 with the Future Tones.
Yeah.
It's so diverse.
What happened is that when I was with Motown, they didn't allow me to write, okay? As far as they were concerned, I was purely and simply a singer, and that was it, end of story. And a singer with a direction that they didn't know what to do with, okay? But when I was with Golden World, the first company that they bought me from, I wrote Agent 00 Soul, SOS, Headline News, Backstreets. I wrote all of that stuff and produced it, you know. And then when I went to Motown, they wouldn't let me write anything or produce anything, right? So finally, I did a TV show called 20 Grand Live, and I didn't have a closing number. So I did a song that I had written called 25 Miles. And the company, the next day at the company, the telephones were ringing off the hook, and people were saying, where can we buy this song? So the president at that time, Barney Ells, called me into his office and said, where's this song at? Where did this song come from? You know? And I said, I wrote it, but he said, well, how come it hasn't been recorded? And I said, I tried to record it, but they told me it was only a good rock and roll song. It didn't have no feet. You know, it wasn't the type of thing that Motown was normally used to doing, because they did crossover. Everything was pop orientated, right? So finally they let me record that, and then that was the beginning of them letting me get involved with records again.
25 miles was
Yeah.
huge. What's for you is your biggest success? What do you look back with the fondest memories?
Everything, absolutely everything. I've been really blessed as far as a career is concerned. I've worked with the absolute best. I've worked with Billie Holiday. I've worked with Count Basie. I've worked with Aretha Franklin. I've worked with the Jacksons. I've worked with, you name it. You name it. I've been there with them. I did a show not long ago with A Night of a Thousand Stars, and the guy from Silence of the Lambs was there.
Anthony
and
Hopkins, yeah.
He was there, and I did the people on Heart to Heart, both of them,
yeah.
the lady and the guy.
Robert Wagner and
Stephanie Powers.
That's the one.
They were there. You know, I mean, so I've been really lucky. I was on stage one time at the Palladium in London, and I was singing, and I heard a voice behind me, and I turned around, and it was Elton John, and he came on stage with me and sang a song. Funny enough, the song that we sang on at the Palladium on TV is the song that the Lighthouse family have out now as a single.
Was it?
Yeah.
What do you think of that version?
It's very difficult to think of it as a single record, you know, because the story behind it is so prolific that you don't think of it as in context of a song that you would hear in a club.
How do you think your voice has changed over the years? Because the style working with Billie Holiday to what you were doing in the late 70s disco-wise is so totally different.
Yeah.
Did your voice change over that time? Has it changed with age?
No, it hasn't. Gotten better. It's gotten stronger. It hasn't changed in pitch or, you know, or in depth or anything like that.
Is there anyone around now that you'd particularly like to work with?
Everybody. I mean, I don't mind working with anybody. I just did a thing not long ago with Utah Saints, and I just did a thing with the Three Amigos. I'm not opposed to working with anyone as long as they understand that I will stay true to who I am. I will not alienate what it is that I do. I sing funk and soul, and that's what I do, and that's what I'm going to do.
And any thoughts of retirement?
Probably, but right now they're not registered.
No, don't do it. Have you got any music coming out?
I've got a brand new album out at the moment called All the Way Live. It's the first live LP in all of my career.
Brilliant.
And it's very, very good. My younger brother Angelo and another guy named Rob Derbyshire in my group, they edited it and put everything together. It's 100 different concerts that we've done over the last few years.
Stop you there. We've got to go to a break. But listen, thanks very much for coming
Pleasure.
in. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.
Don't go away. After the break, we'll be talking to City Social Services about pensioners in the cold.